Hello everyone, welcome and thank you for taking the time today. My name is Tanya, I sit at Microsoft Denmark and I'm responsible for our products under Microsoft 365, but also all of our security products. With me today I have Ole.
My name is Ole Kielsen, I'm the Director of Security and Technology. I don't have any responsibility for products as such, but the domains of security and let's say any technology that we provide as a tech provider is under my, I guess, supervision.
In any case, security is a field of huge importance. The need and necessity to get smarter, faster, more agile working with security is growing. And if you're watching this video, that's because you have an intent to get a little bit smarter. Today, we do hope to help inspire you a little bit about what Microsoft does, how we see security end to end and some of the trends in the market. But we'll also guide you to how you can get even smarter, maybe even by taking a Microsoft certification for various topics underneath the big hood that is security, which will hopefully help you throughout your career and get you a little bit closer to where you want to go. With that, let me kick off with a short introduction. Now, there has never been a more critical time to talk about security. The landscape is complex, attacks are sophisticated, and it's a little bit cat-mouse game. We develop products, we develop technology that make us all smarter, faster, more agile. At the same time, the complexity in the threat landscape is just evolving, and we have to constantly stay ahead of the game. So when you evolve down the path of security, you will never stop learning. It will simply continue to grow for years and years to come. We've seen large-scale attacks, often mentioned in the media. We've seen many companies attacked in Denmark as well. And the threats are not just for large companies, but also for small companies. So if you work with security, there's an equal need to work in it from a kind of defense perspective, an intelligence perspective, a compliance perspective, work with a partner, work in an organization, work with a government. The possibilities are endless and growing. For Microsoft, it's a top priority. Just quoting Satya here a little bit, we're here to protect our industries, our customers, and to help enable an end-to-end approach for security as a platform. Now, we touch a lot of different areas with security, and working with security is not just protecting the data you're working with. It's also securing all of the endpoints that you touch and that if you work in a company that your customers touch. It's securing not just the personal PCs, but also everything that is connected to the internet somehow, or anything that could be coupled up somehow, like IoT devices. It's ensuring that employees can come into work in the office and work securely and safely, but equally can work from home or on the go without having to worry. In order to do that, we need to think as defenders and constantly build products that enable that end-to-end. Even as work needs change, hybrid work, we believe, is the future. And we think companies will evolve and are evolving to embrace that, allowing employees to work from multiple locations, and thus also adding a small layer of complexity when employees log in from their own personal devices. They may also log in from something that is not Microsoft. And I hope you'll be a little bit inspired when I say that our approach is end-to-end. We are also thinking about how do we embrace other products, other partners, even competitors, because we're in it to help the industry and we're in it to evolve and continuously get smarter. Now, there's no time to rest. This is pretty much a fact. Everything can be subject to an attack, and the cost can be really high. Even small companies that we like small, medium-sized businesses, we have a lot of those in Denmark, they get attacked, they risk losing hundreds of thousands of kroner, perhaps even millions. Some of them get attacked and are not even able to operate for weeks or months. And finding out where the attack came from, what happened, what is actually affected, can be very complex without the tools that help identify and stop that threat. I wish we could say that buying best technology will mean that you will never ever get attacked. The companies you work with will never get hacked. That's probably not the case. A good colleague once told me, water always finds a way. And if a breach happens, and it will, how can you then stop the damage from being so severe it affects the business? And with that, we all have to get smarter and think sometimes a little bit like a hacker and build tools that enable us to stop that. Now, looking a little bit at some global numbers. These are big, big numbers. But at Microsoft, we've invested tremendously in security. In fact, we have more than 4,000 security specialists sitting at our headquarters monitoring the security landscape. We use artificial intelligence, we use telemetry, we have trillions of signals, and we stop a tremendous amount of attack every day. Imagine if we didn't. That would not even be conceivable. But the ones that do get through, how do you then work with them on the other side? And what are the tools that can really help you do that? And if you're interested in a career within security, what are the roles you would actually get into, and how do you get into this area?
I guess this is where I come in. I'd actually go even further than what Tanya said. Everything not only can be submitted to attacks, it will be. It's easy to be fearful. The cyber threat environment is constantly developing, and the adversaries are getting more and more capable. So the defense have to change as well. And we just know that, Microsoft is a huge global company, almost 200,000 colleagues, working not only in security, but we do have a huge group, huge organization taking care of security. Because we're a global company and we provide a ton of the IT infrastructure out there, we of course also have a responsibility. We feel a responsibility to take part in the defense, creating the resilience against all these new developing threats. Now, this is just a snapshot of some of the organization, and I will get back to the actual roles. What are some of the roles? What kind of competencies are we looking for? What competencies are lacking in the market? I think there was a recent EU study saying that by 2030 will be at least 200,000 cybersecurity specialists of some sort short. So there are definitely a career to be made in cybersecurity. Now, Microsoft, of course, with the capabilities we have, the global organization, and of course the amount of customers we have, we are an interesting employer for people who want to work with cybersecurity. But we're absolutely not alone. But I want to give you just a snapshot of what such an organization consists of. I speak to a ton of Danish customers, Icelandic customers, even some international customers not based in Denmark, all about security and compliance. Now, I'm just one guy. Of course, I have a huge backing group, and some of these organizations help me every day. So the five dark blue, I guess, pentagons? I don't know.
Pentagons is a good word, yes.
Let's say pentagons, as you see them here. The Threat Intelligence Center, the Security Response Center, the Digital Crimes Unit, and the Defender Security Intelligence, but at the center of everything is our Cyber Defense Operations Center. And as Tanya said, more than 4,000 people work with not just research, but trying to analyze all these huge, vast amounts of data that we do have from our global infrastructure. So when you look at how we work, there's a ton of different competencies that go into this. It's not all engineers, it's not all researchers, it's not all technical people, but I'll get back to that in just a second. So the Cyber Defense Operations Center is a central command. It's the one place in Microsoft where we gather all the signals we get from the different parts of the business. We have what we call of course, security operations centers for each of our business units. Today, there's actually, we just added another, so we have 14 security operations centers in each of these businesses. And they all feed data into the central cyber defense operations center. So the amount of data that goes into their analysis is, as Tanya said before, 24 trillion daily security signals. Not millions, not billions, trillions of signals. Not all these, of course, there's not people behind everything. I mean, these could be service-to-service calls, it could be bots, but 24 trillion daily signals. There's no way anybody in their right mind would start analyzing that manually. So yes, we do use a lot of artificial intelligence, machine learning, in trying to detect, see the patterns in these vast amounts of data to know what kind of resilience is needed. And because it's a global operation, of course, knowing what goes on in the Far East will help us in securing European companies or US-based companies and vice versa. So there's a big strength in actually being a global security organization. Now, here it says that we have more than 8,500. This updates, I'm sure, daily. So about 4,500 work in the Cyber Defense Operation Center. Huge organization. A ton of them also work in, of course, the development centers. And they also work in nation states like Denmark, helping the intelligence agencies, the cyber defense operations from the public sector. And they all based all their counseling, all their implementation on signals and intelligence that we get out of these. But all of that is, of course, concrete cases, working with customers, working with public sector officials on securing the national infrastructure or the business infrastructure. But the thing is with cybercrime, as Tanya said before as well, cyber criminals are like water. They always go where there's least resistance, and that's where they're going to attack. So nobody can hide. Our digital crimes unit is a special unit which primarily actually consists of lawyers and forensics experts. They work globally. They work to try to hurt the criminals where it really hurts, meaning money. Today there's a dark web. There's actually cybercrime as a service. If you have a credit card, you can have all the hacker tools you want on dark web for no more than $30, $40 US. And then you're now capable of attacking almost anybody. You can find the weak spots. You can behave like water and find a place to breach. And because it's of course, as you know, cyberspace has no borders, doesn't respect if we're Denmark, US, UK, South Africa. It simply doesn't respect borders. They have to work globally and across borders. So the digital crime unit works to collect data. We don't have any authority, of course, to actually enforce legislation, but we collect data, we do the forensics, and we hand it over to the national authorities to go take down botnets, which makes the internet more secure for everybody, take down criminal activities, even misinformation campaigns running out of nation states is counted by the cyber digital crimes unit. Now, they do a ton of things, these people. There are about 200 of them, and I just want to highlight a few of them, actually go into a deep dive on one of them, which you might not know is coming out of a security organization for Microsoft, and that's the online child protection. Now, not everybody is, of course, aware of how to behave securely, but if there's one, let's say, weaker group in the world, it's definitely children. And unfortunately, online, with the amount of anonymity that you can have online, children are definitely exposed. So the digital crime unit works, of course, all they can to help the law enforcement agencies investigate and take down child abuse rings. And it's awful job for the investigators to work on this. So we created what we call the Photo DNA. Photo DNA is a artificial intelligence tool that basically takes a digital fingerprint of known child exploitation pictures or videos. Imagine if you're an investigator with the National Police and you're investigating a child pornography ring and having to go through all that material. Not an easy job, not anything you would want to work with. Typically, they last 4 to 5 years in such a job, and then they're simply worn out because it's a tough job to have. Photo DNA, what it does is it makes sure that they don't have to go through all the physical material, but they can mathematically, through computers or cloud services, make sure that they can trawl through millions of pictures and establish some of these pictures are actually known child pornography, making it much easier for them to do their job, making them more efficient. And of course, we've given out this tool not just to police, but to all service providers who want to use it so they can take down these horrible, horrible crimes. So just an example of it's not all about infrastructure, it's not all about technology, it's also about providing tools to those who try to protect everyone. And that's basically just one example of how we try to approach the cybersecurity in a global term. We think a lot about not just, of course, trying to influence policy, so it makes it easier to investigate cybercrime, to take down cyber criminals, but also working with partners. And when I say partners, it could be anybody, not just I think we're close to 400,000 partners globally, but it's also partnerships with civil servants, with authorities, and it's also partnerships with like telcos and banks who do have access to a ton of the cyber criminals' activities. One partnership that we have and we're quite proud of is a free program that we offer all governments in the world. Denmark is also part of this. It's the government security program. It's basically making sure that the authorities in each country have access to both early warnings. So when we know something is going on, when the Cyber Defense Operations Center knows from their AI, machine learning investigations, that something's going on in the world that we haven't seen before, the national cyber agencies get that information before everybody else. But it's also getting access to our source code. So they can, in a secure environment, trawl through our source code and make sure that we haven't built in any backdoors, or if there's any vulnerabilities we haven't seen, they will find them. There's a ton of things in these government security programs that we're quite proud to offer all nation states. And Denmark is definitely one of the many countries in the world who benefit a ton from this program. But in recent years, of course, based on some of the incidents during US elections, we created also what we call Account Guard. Account Guard is, again, a free offer we give to all organizations that is important for a democracy to function. So we basically offer them, of course, training. Most people working in democracy don't know about how to best secure their communication. So we train them on that. We give them awareness of what is actually going on, how can they be attacked. But we also offer them upscaling the monitoring and warnings about what threats are going on, all in the name of trying to defend the democracy and all the action that goes on during elections or similar situations. So this is just a snapshot of some of the projects that we're running that has nothing to do with technology per se, but in terms of securing cyberspace best possible. And if I have to put labels on some of the competencies, it's easy to think that cybersecurity is all about being an engineer, knowing how to write code. That's a big part of it. Knowing how to research, absolutely a big part of it. How can we evolve encryption, for instance? How can we use quantum computing to be a defense rather than a vulnerability once we have it in place? But it's also about physical security in our infrastructure, physical security and operational security at our customer sites and our own sites. And it's absolutely, and that's that's where the growth really is. It's about analyzing these vast amounts of data, getting intelligence from the raw data, and then creating actions. And when you go into actions, that's where you get in touch with lawyers, you get in touch with investigators, forensic investigators, making sure that you can actually take real action towards the cyber criminals, because that's what's hurting them. Not that we just build a great defense, but we hurt them with prison time or on their wallet. And also, I mean, even though I have a technical background, I don't program anymore. It's been a few years at least. But there's also people like Tanya and I who do work with security, and we don't do anything technical. But there's a lot of program management, there's a lot of partnership management, there's a lot of influencing that goes on. So regardless of your skill set, of the competencies you have and what your passion is, you will find that in cybersecurity, there's a need for your competencies, for your passions. So let's move on, Tanya, to
Thank you, Ole.
something that is much more concrete.
I think it's a good point. the IT business is really large, and sometimes it's a little bit hard to explain what we do. I can feel it can be easier to explain if you are a doctor what you do and what your field of expertise is. But within IT, our world changes every day. A new technology is constantly evolving, and the big skill set is exactly the ability to learn and to evolve. So no matter what brought you here and what is your intent to move forward, know that there are multiple options. Now, I mentioned a little bit before that we try and build our security foundation end to end. That means protecting your email, protecting your identity, protecting the apps you work with and against, protecting the clouds you touch with the multiple applications you're using, and so forth. All the endpoints, meaning your mobile phone, your PC, your tablet, or even an IoT device that touches data. We want to make it simple to understand. There's a lot of complexity beneath the hood, yes, but the approach is really about protecting everything and simplifying the complexity. So when we build our security management tool, we build in a lot of automation that help people working with IT every day, monitor not thousands of signals every day, but monitor the most important ones, because we build our tools in a way that they filter and they put in the right alerts. So IT doesn't waste time chasing hundreds, if not thousands, of alerts that don't matter. Instead, have the agility to find the one that does and to stop an eventual or potential attack. We want to catch what others miss. We want to create a solution, and we have created a solution that works across cloud. So say you work with a company who has a lot of Microsoft products, but they might also have other products from other cloud service providers. We bridge that because hackers would find a way if there's the slightest risk between those lines. Or say there's a lot of IT in the company that IT might not even be aware of. Can we then shut off that there's no access through social media applications or social media communication tools, not to mention any names, but hackers will find a way. If employees are using these tools on their company computer, is there a way, and can we stop it by building a defense end to end? And then the continuous growth. When we talk about security and we try and put it down to products, you will find a lot of names. And I will advise you to not memorize all of them because they are also evolving. But we build our products within these kind of 4 groupings. So you have the identity and access management, you have compliance, you have threat protection, and you have cloud security. When you want to start your journey into cybersecurity from a Microsoft perspective, you will initially learn a little about all of this, and maybe you will want to choose to go a little bit deeper on some of it. But know that you would have to understand at least the basics end to end. Again, because when you work with cybersecurity, it's always the weakest spot that is the hardest to protect. In order to help you with this, we're building constantly new innovation, and we're dedicated to investing billions of dollars the next many years to continue this. One of the things I will call out, it might seem simple today, for at least in Denmark, where we have a relatively digitized market and we're used to using authentication tools to log into our bank or log in to the school our kids attend. But that is multi-factor authentication. From a hacking perspective, hackers do like to choose the easy way in. And the easy way in is actually not even hacking something, it's simply stealing an identity and just walking through the front door. Multi-factor authentication is the tool most important to stop this. Now, globally, I think it's less than 30% of organizations that actually use multi-factor authentication. But if they could, it could probably stop up to 90% of all the attacks we've seen to date, because it's a simple, powerful tool. Are you really who you say you are? We use a strategy we call zero trust. It's not a product, it's a philosophy that attacks will happen, so you need to minimize when it does. You need to think end to end. You need to verify everything explicitly again and again. And this starts with the identity of everyone who needs access to whatever they need access to. We want to allow them to get access to what they need for their work. But what if they're not the person they say they are? And these are kind of the tools where we are continuously evolving them and really building a platform that is safe and secure for the future. Now, bragging a little bit, because this is Microsoft, I will say, when I started at Microsoft 12 years ago, Microsoft security for me was, antivirus on my Windows PC. A lot has happened since then. Microsoft today is a recognized leader within multiple fields of security, and we fight really hard to grow these positions and keep them and take the whole industry with us every day. And it's great to see it recognized, but the reason I wanted to show you is it's a lot of categories and a lot of complexity, and we will keep at that. We have thousands of customers that we work very closely with every day. We have teams who go out on site if a breach happens. We have experts, both in our headquarters and sitting locally in Denmark, who are available to help. But really what we want is our customers to say, okay, this is helping. This is actually simplifying the complexity. This is relieving my team of a lot of heavy work, and we can focus on other things and other innovation. So security is also about balancing how we're using our resources and getting smarter about that. With that, I want to just take a 2-second break and then right back at you for you and what you want to do. Because there is a huge need. You said, 200,000 security specialists will be needed, at least?
In 8 years.
In 8 years, just. So I will take a wild guess and say there's a good chance you can create a really good career in security. But where do you start? Now, there are these 4 ways as we see the world in Microsoft. And to at least help a little bit, we've created pathways where you can go in and grow your knowledge. Now, depending on what your foundation is, what you studied, what you've already worked with, how you spend your free time coding, not coding, you can choose several pathways. The one I recommend people with basic knowledge is fundamentals. That's kind of obvious, but it's really good for people like myself who came into IT not from a technical background, but with a learning mindset to understand the basics of technology and to understand what is cloud computing, what is cloud technology, what is cloud security, how is it all connected. There are a number of fundamentals classes. You can do a fundamentals on Azure, you can do a fundamentals on Microsoft 365, on Power Platform, data and AI. But today, let's talk a little bit about the ones that are for security. They're very easy to access. They are free. If you want to learn at your own pace and time, you can do this. You want to take a certification, there's a small fee. I don't want to name the price because I think I could change. But
it depends, but it's around $100 per certification.
Give or take $100. But the actual material, we've built it for you. It's available at your own pace. We also do training days that we host virtually in multiple time zones, so you have to log in and see what's available. And we have these kind of sessions where you can get help and ask questions from some of our experts. There are also great learning partners who offer in-classroom courses, but that's something you will have to go out and find. That could be really, really helpful, especially in some of the intermediate classes. We're trying to create a community, so you're not alone. You can help from others doing exactly the same. And there are so many resources available to allow exactly that. We also encourage you to stay in the loop about what's going on. We have multiple channels, communications, YouTube channels, and it's pretty helpful also maybe once or twice to download a trial, get a little bit behind the scenes, see what the monitoring tools and management tools actually look like, and the dashboards and so on.
Can I just add one thing?
Yes.
Even if you decide never to go into cybersecurity, it looks complex, whatever, the fundamental part is something I believe everybody, regardless of how you work with technology, you need to take the fundamentals. We need simply to raise the baseline so everybody understands security. We're all part of Resilient, creating the best security baseline out there. But I hope you decide to dive in. We need you.
We need you. With that, thank you very much for attending. Wish you all the best in your future endeavors and your hopefully great security or IT careers.
Thank you.
Thank you.